The bodies of more than 100 people who drowned trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea were found washed up on beaches near the Libyan city of Zuwarah. At least 117 bodies were discovered near the western city. The expected death toll is, however, expected to rise since similar smuggling boats usually carry up to 125 people. Most of the victims appeared to be from sub-Saharan Africa, though their bodies were decomposed and it was not clear when they had drowned. The bodies of 2 children were also among those recovered. On Tuesday, the UN Refugee Agency said at least 880 people drowned over the past week, following a series of shipwrecks as departures from the North African coast towards Italy surged. Now, let's get you more on that story. I'm joined live by CCTV's Jack Parrock, who is in Brussels. Jack, has the European Union commented on this crisis yet?
They haven't made any specific comments about this crisis, and clearly they're also watching another disaster around 76 nautical miles south of the Greek island of Crete, where 340 people were saved and 9 bodies were recovered from another migrant boat earlier today. So there's a lot going on at the moment. We have heard from the EU's naval commander that's dealing with this issue down in the Mediterranean, and he said that he estimated that Libya's GDP currently was around 30% made up of smuggling, people smuggling. So this is a real issue. But at the moment, the European Union's plans and their ways of trying to deal with the high numbers of people remain the same. Clearly, the deal that they made with Turkey to try and stop people making their way from the Turkish coastline to the Greek islands is being seen as working. The numbers there have dropped drastically. But what we're seeing now is large numbers of deaths making the route from North African countries, trying to reach Italy and now potentially Greece, as we've seen with this boat that's capsized today.
Now, Jack, of course, meetings have been held as well as consultations done, but it does obviously appear that the migrants are still determined to make that treacherous journey. What are the leaders there suggesting as a solution to this problem?
Well, some European Union senior politicians have suggested making some kind of deal with countries like Egypt and Libya, like they did with Turkey, to try and prevent the flows, have some kind of returns program. But where Turkey is probably more stable and has more capacity to do so, the worry of making such a deal with a country like Libya that's considered relatively unstable by the European Union at the moment would raise some serious questions. We did see the European Union extend its Operation Sophia, which is a joint military operation in the Mediterranean, to try to deal with the numbers of refugees boarding these smugglers' boats for an additional year. And we also saw a vote last week in the European Parliament to set up a European Union border and coast guard agency that would deal with this. But obviously it's quite difficult for the European Union to get into Libyan waters when it's the sovereign water territory of a country. They have to be involved and have strong negotiations with that country. But as I said, the instability, the perceived instability by the European Union in Libya at the moment, which is where most of these refugee and migrant boats are leaving, is the big issue for the EU at the moment. They will obviously try to engage as much as possible in the coming weeks, with the numbers of deaths of refugees and migrants really starting to rise quite heavily now.
Jack, thank you very much for joining us on Africa Live. CCTV's Jack Parrock speaking to us from Brussels.